Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to an episode of Ask Alec. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to take an actual call-in from someone that DM'd me on Instagram, had an awesome question I think a lot of you are going to relate to. So I'm actually going to call him. He's going to share a little bit of his story, and we're going to have a conversation. Let's get right to it. All right.
Hello.
What's up, Curtis? You're on the Ask Alec show. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Pretty well, man. So we connected on Instagram, and you had some cool questions, something that I think a lot of people out there watching are going to relate to, and just want to thank you for being on, sharing your story, and what's up, man? What's on your mind?
No problem. I'm a poker player. I've been playing for like 10 years, and just recently got out of the breakup. Was living in Orlando, playing in Central Florida, and
Yep.
as soon as I got out of the breakup, I started playing cards, and I went on a massive downswing. So I was playing tournaments. I was playing 2-5, which I probably should have been playing 1-2 because my bankroll was like 3,000 or 4,000. And if you run bad at all playing 2-5, I mean, you're going to go broke fast.
Totally.
And,
Especially with that bankroll. I mean, you're only playing with,
right.
8 buy-ins.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I was buying for 300, 400.
Yeah.
And I was still playing $250 tournaments. I won a tournament in Tampa last year, the same one that I've been playing, but I was staked in it. So I had to give him half. I won like 12 grand, gave him half. Somebody who staked me. So that was cool. But just been running bad. But the most important part of being a poker player is knowing when is like self-evaluation, like knowing when you're. Everybody says, "Oh, well, I'm running bad. Well, you got to know when you're playing bad. So
Amen.
I've been a huge student of the game. I watch your YouTube videos. I put 5 or 6 hours a day into poker.
Shit, man, that's
And,
amazing. That's more than most pros do, so good for you.
Yeah, so I had to move back in with my parents. I was living with my girl, and basically just been depressed as hell, went broke.
Fuck.
And just trying to rebound, just trying to, get back on track. Thought about selling my car, and my friend lives out in Vegas. I've been to Vegas about 4 or 5 times. I've played 5-10 out there in the past and done really well.
Yep.
And whenever I played 5-10, I had like $9K to my name. And just because I won at 5-10 doesn't mean that was correct, because I had not enough money at all to be playing that game. And just because I won doesn't mean it was smart, because that's results oriented.
It sounds like you're constantly playing over your bankroll. Like you're just always over leveraging yourself to the max, and then variance hits and creeps in, and even if you're the best player in the world, you're never going to be able to fade the variance, and you're always going to end up broke.
Right.
So what's what's your question? Like, what's your sort of situation? What are you kind of struggling with right now? Like, thinking about selling your car, trying to get back into poker. Like, what is it specifically?
Yeah, I'm trying to sell my car, and I'm trying to get like 12 or 13K out of it. I got like a Hyundai Genesis 2012. It's a really nice car. I love it, but my friend lives out in Vegas, and I have a good living situation, paying like $200 a month. And
wow.
So if I went out there with like $12,000, do you think I could play 1-2 and 1-3? And that would be enough money for that, right?
Well, I mean, the real question is, do you think you could play 1-2 and 1-3? Like,
yeah.
What I'm hearing is like,
sure.
You're going to go out. What I'm scared about is this. I'm scared you're going to sell your car, which is, your biggest asset. And this is kind of like your one chance, like you're like, you're selling the farm here, man. You're like pawning your fucking car to go play poker, which is a whole different conversation, which is already maybe not, the best thing to do because it's like high risk. So one of the things that we'll swing back around on this, right? We're going to swing back around. But you talked about being self-aware and knowing yourself well enough to figure out your own situation. So one of the things that strikes me is like, can you go out to Vegas, sell your car, have your head be right, and play 1-3 because that's what you should do, which I believe you could win doing, right? I don't know if you're a good player, but it sounds to me like when you're playing your best, when you're in your A game, when you're in your element, and your head is right, you got shit figured out and you have an edge over the competition, but it sounds like you're your own worst enemy. And so can you go out to Vegas and play 1-3 and actually stick to committing that game? And when you lose 900, not jump in the 2-5 or the 5-10 to get it back. That's the real question in my mind.
Right. I think it might be an anxiety problem. I have like anxiety, so like sometimes I'll just like make rash decisions, and you lose, and then you jump in a bigger game chasing, and you just can't do that shit. You gotta accept your losses. Sometimes it's not your day. There's always going to be another day.
Totally.
And I want to do it. My whole life, my parents have just said, get a job, blah blah blah, get a job. Like nobody believes in me. Everybody thinks I'm going to fail, and that's very motivating. It makes me just work harder.
Yeah, I love it. I like being the underdog, too. I totally understand. Like, I was always the underdog playing poker. I was, in a similar spot. Like, my parents, super supportive, right? So I'm really lucky to have really supportive parents. But, like, nobody thinks it's a great decision to quit whatever safe route you're doing and even start a business, right? Like, most people even doing that already has a lot of doubters or haters surrounded that. And right, and starting a business is already, accepted in an entrepreneurial society like the US. But doing something even more esoteric like playing poker, has a definite connotation or stigma to it where people aren't accepting of it. So I think that's just part of the game. And ultimately, your confidence in yourself and the voice inside your head has to be louder and stronger than the opinion of the people around you in order for you to win. Like, right. You have to know inside that what you're doing is right and that you have the capability of winning. And that has to be the narrative to which you operate more than the narrative of, fear, doubt, or whatever from other people that's judging you to lead you to like not do something out of fear. That's the game. Mm-hmm. 'Cause there's always going to be that from, girls, society, like what other people think, fucking your Instagram, like whatever, right? Like there's always going to be someone that's judging whatever actions you're doing.
Right. And I got in a relationship with this Puerto Rican chick, and her mom told me, like the first time I ever met her mom, she was like, you got to stop playing poker.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. I want better for my daughter. And I'm just like, woman, you don't even know me. Like I'm good at poker. It's my passion. It's what I love. And, I just have my back's against the wall. I just have everybody doubt me. And it's tough not having poker friends to like discuss hands about.
Totally. I mean, you might have that in Vegas, like, right. Like you might go there and, immerse yourself in a group of people that are all like-minded trying to reach, the next level, and they're all playing poker and succeeding. It sounds to me like this is what you really want to do. And you're a little bit apprehensive about doing it because of what other people are going to think, or because you're kind of scared that you're your own worst enemy and might screw this up. Mm-hmm.
I'm really confident on poker game. It's not the poker. It's the control management. It's the, I don't drink and play. I got to stay away from the sports book.
Do you have the tendency to gamble in sports and whatever? Do you have those lifestyle leagues?
On football, I do, but it's not football season. So,
yeah, but I mean that's a huge leak because football season is going to come, and even if you run that 12K up to 20K, you're never immune to losses of sports. So you could have 12K, 20K, 50K, and it's all just a bet or two away from you being broke. Mm-hmm. So to me, it doesn't really matter if it's football season. To me, it's like you either have these leaks or you don't. I think, look, I'm going to be really honest with you. I think this shit's binary. I think you either have lifestyle leaks or you don't, and you either can manage yourself or you can't. I don't think there's really like an in-between here. I don't think that there's like, oh, my bankroll's 50K and I only gamble, a little bit on sports, so it's only going to affect 20% of my bankroll, so I'm going to be fine. It's like that's not how it works if you're a gambler, right? Not a poker player, but like you're a gambler. Like, and you have that inside you. You gamble in there's poker players that are poker players, and there's poker players that are gamblers. You're a little bit of a poker player that's a gambler in the sense that you gamble on sports and you also gamble on poker. You gamble on poker by over leveraging yourself and gambling instead of, methodically playing within your means. And that leads you to situations where your poker playing ends up being more of a gamble than it is like a long-term play because you're over leveraging your bankroll. So this is all part of the same problem to me. So I don't really see your sports problem different than your poker problem, because even if it's not football season, you're going to want to scratch that itch for gambling, and you're going to do that at the poker table by jumping into 510. So this is you could be the best player in the world, but if you don't fix this, you're never going to make it. So you're going to, I'm
Right.
concerned that you're going to go to Vegas, pawn your car, run your 12K up to 17K, and as soon as that 17 dips to 13.5 because you're running bad or you're playing bad or you play drunk one day or you fucking break up with your girlfriend, whatever happens, and something goes wrong where your head's not right and then you lose, then you try to chase 13.5 to 17, and in doing that you turn 13 to 0. That's like the pattern that I'm seeing has probably happened to you many times. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I've gone broke plenty of times. I've been a straight-up degenerate betting sports in the past. I've cut it out mostly because, I mean, I've probably lost over $100,000 in my life betting sports, which makes me sick.
Okay,
And,
how many times has this happened?
What is it?
How many times has this happened? Like, not how many times have you lost $100,000, but how many times have you had the pattern I just said happen? In other words, shit's going well, obstacle in the road, you lose your mind and dust off the bankroll, like, and then you build it back up again. Like, how many times has that cycle happened?
Too many times. I like to think the older I get, the more wiser I get.
How old are you?
27.
So, when did you start playing? How many years ago?
I started playing when I was 15, just in my friend's house, and I played the main event whenever I was 21.
Okay. So, I gotta be honest with you. I'm gonna give you some unpopular advice because, like, I'm, this is coming from like me that, like, I like train people at poker and like I have my like pro poker membership and like whatever. But I think you gotta really evaluate yourself well enough to know, like, maybe you and gambling don't mix. Like, some people can't fucking drink because when they do, they don't have one glass. They have blackout drunk, and they're binary. They have either no alcohol or they go blackout drunk. And some people have, no coffee or 6 cups. Like, some people don't have that moderation gene. And, like, to me, I think there's a lot of people that are like that. And that's not a problem. That's just knowing your own limitations or weakness. Like, I'm lucky that I don't really have an addictive personality. So I don't have a gambling problem. And like, that's just part of like why I'm successful at poker. Like, I don't really chase losses at the poker table. Like, I could quit when I'm losing. I could go and sit down for 2 hours and just play and be like, fuck this, I don't feel like I'm playing my best, check my ego at the door and quit. Or like, I've never bet sports. Like, I've like literally like never bet sports. Like, I don't want to say never. I've bet like a few games with friends or whatever, but like, I've never played. I played like roulette once, like for fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've never, like, I don't have those sorts of things. And so like, but if I did, I'd like to think that I would be like, I can't win, not because I'm not a good poker player, but because like I can't win as a person in the context of gambling. And like, maybe that's
Right.
Maybe that's like the role that you have. Maybe that's like the person that you are, where like you and gambling just don't mix. Like, you might be a great poker player. You might have a great mind for poker, but because there's more to you winning at being a winning poker player long term than just your ability to balance your range on the turn and check raise with bluffs and fucking exploit people and 3-bet and all this shit. There's more to it than that. There's like the emotional component of poker, which is as important as the tactical component. You might just not be a poker player. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's not like your self-worth shouldn't be measured in like, I'm not made to win money at poker. Like I'm not I'm not made to be like a nurse. Like I can't, I could never do that. Like I respect that job. I think it's really important. I just know that like I wouldn't thrive in that environment. I like get queasy around needles and blood. But like I'm not going to volunteer to like donate blood at the hospital because I'm just not going to succeed in that environment. I'm going to like, it's just not going to work. Doesn't mean you can't like give money to charity or donate your time or contribute to society. It just means that like that's not going to be how you do it, right? Some people volunteer at hospitals, some people fucking donate at schools. But like you have to do something that's in line with your personality and who you are as a person. And like what I'm hearing from you is that like you're just not a gambler. Or you are a gambler, which is why you shouldn't be gambling.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of poker players, they have those leaks. I mean, some play blackjack, craps, and all those games are in the fucking house, but the people lose at them. And sports betting, I could win $15,000 in a week, and I'm going to fucking eventually lose it all back. I have to realize that it's minus EV, and if I go out there and do that, I'm not going to succeed at all. But I'm just going to stay away from the sports book completely, and I have to do that, or I'm going to fail. And I'm going to play within my means. 1-2, 1-3. If I'm up, I'm going to shot take at tournaments. There's a bunch of good tournaments out there. The Venetian's having like a deep stack extravaganza or something.
Totally.
I'm a really good tournament player. I play like kind of like where I've been playing with like not a huge bankroll. I kind of play like pot control, small pots, check back top pair and just shit like that. And in order to just take the less variant route possible.
I believe you could do everything right tactically. Like, I wouldn't even say we should discuss hands of poker and how you're playing tactically, because I believe you when you say you can gain an edge on the competition and you like balance your range and you exploit people at the table. Like, that's not where I'm seeing what's going to hinder you from succeeding in Vegas. And like, success to me means you leave Vegas with more money than you came with, and that means fading your own demons, and those are your proclivity to play higher stakes, gamble on sports, and it might even mean other shit. It might be you have a drinking problem, it might be you have a drug problem, it might be you have a women problem, you might have a spending money problem. Like you might just be a massive, like not saying you, but like someone out there watching might just be like a massive punter, and every time they fucking win $1,000, they go spend it. And like to me, right, that means that like you might like maybe the fluctuations of large amounts of money fucks with your head too much that you end up having this leak. And this lifestyle leak prevents you from being a winning poker player long-term net because your spending habits are worse than your playing ability. But like to me, those are all part of like you should or shouldn't be around gambling, because at the end of the day, success to me means being able to win at the game as a player. And that means you have to manage yourself. And so for you, it's like, it's the gambling side of things and, putting yourself in Vegas where you're tempted every single second of every single day around gambling, playing, whether it's playing higher stakes poker, sports betting, roulette, blackjack, whatever your vices are, that's really treading dangerous water. And like, from what I'm hearing historically, you'd be better served not to put yourself in that situation. And that's like hard knock advice. Like, I'm not saying this like because I want you to lose. Like, I really want you to win. Like, I'm not doubting you, like telling you your girlfriend's mom saying, you're not going to make it as a poker player. I actually think if all it took to make it as a poker player was you being better than your opponents, I would say you should do it. But I'm telling you what I'm telling you because that's not that important. In other words, I know a lot of players that have epic poker talent that are broke because they have the other lifestyle problems that we just discussed. And I know players that have mediocre poker talent that are winning at mid-stakes, high-stakes games because they don't have any of those other problems. They always play their A game. They game select well. They don't have an ego. They only play when they're playing their best. They quit. They don't play long hours. They never play when they're drunk. And they compensate for their like sort of ABC mediocre poker talent because they just do everything else right and they still win because people that are otherwise better than them are fucking shit up because they're their own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like...
Yeah, there's so many different proponents to being successful. It's more than just, how good you are at poker.
Yeah, to me, your poker talent isn't... Like, you already have the poker talent side probably down. I'm sure your poker talent is like you're the top 3 best players at the table. You're definitely going to win. But to me, that's not where I'm seeing your leak. And, like, I don't really... I wish I knew what to tell you. I wish I could just tell you something like, don't gamble at high stakes, but you already know that. Like, I can't tell you anything you don't know other than you really need to be self-aware enough to know, like, are you going to actually do what you think you're going to do, or are you going to rinse and repeat the pattern that you've already done? Because you really don't want to, like... So let's go this route. What's your worst case scenario? What happens if you sell your car, you pawn your shit, you go to Vegas, and you just fuck it up? Or maybe you play great and lose because you're not as good as you thought you were, or you just run bad. But, like, what happens if you lose everything that you pawned to get to Vegas? What's your backup plan?
Well, if I go out there with 10K and I lose playing 1-3 and 1-2, if I lose, it's not just running bad, it's playing bad. And I have to be self-aware to risk that. Or it's just
playing higher stakes than you should because you gamble on sports and you lose the 10K that way. But what would happen if you lost that?
If I lost, I would move back to West Virginia, where I'm originally from, and I would have to get a job, some type of job that probably wouldn't be a great fit for me.
So what would you do if you didn't sell your car and go out to Vegas and play poker? Would you do the same thing? In other words, is your worst case scenario, is the only difference between your worst case scenario and your ideal scenario that in one scenario you have 10K less money and then you just have to grind that back in a job?
Yeah, and I would lose my car, so I wouldn't have transportation. I have a car, or my friend has a car out there that I could drive.
Right. So you're basically your best case scenario, your ideal scenario and your worst case scenario. The difference is the 10K, which is right now your car that you're going to lose. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your one shot. This is in your mind, your one shot to play poker. In other words, if you lose this money, you are not going to play anymore. Like you're actually going to quit. In your mind, you're actually going to quit gambling. In other words, you're never going to touch poker again, type of thing.
If I blew this chance, I would have to take a massive long break and grind out the job, 9 to 5 life. Which I'm not above doing that, but I believe I'm good enough to. I believe I'm good enough to do it, and I just have so much to prove to myself. And I understand I have a lot of leaks and I fucked up a lot, but I've also kind of learned from it.
I hope so.
I was out there.
I would say do it, but I would say do it only because your worst case scenario isn't really that much different than your current scenario. I mean, your worst case scenario is your 10K poorer, but like 10K you're going to make back in the real world and save up in a couple months. So if you look at this like, okay, in exchange for taking this risk and going out to Vegas, my opportunity cost is that I'm going to suck it up and grind a job for 6 months to save that 10K back. And you're willing to lose that 6 months of life grinding a job because you lost or didn't play well or fucked up out in Vegas. If you're willing to consciously make that trade now, knowing that that's your worst case scenario, then fine, do it. You're basically just saying, okay, 6 months in a job for the opportunity of a lifetime to go out to Vegas and do something that I believe I'm good enough to do. I hope that the urgency of success in this trip, in other words, the fact that this is your one chance to make poker work, I hope that is your North Star and that prevents you from temptation into gambling and being your own worst enemy, and that you make it. One piece of advice I would have if you do this is to immediately take money off the table when you're in Vegas to give yourself a backup plan. So in other words, when you turn your 10K into 20K, take 5K off put it back into your savings account. When you turn 15K into 25K, take another 5K off and put it back in your savings account, move up to 2.5 at that point, but replenish that 10K so that if shit hits the fan and something goes wrong, you're not trading 6 months of your life to get that money back. You have a backup plan that includes financial support. That would be like,
right.
That would be something that I would say would be required fiscal responsibility for taking this risk, that you pay yourself back first. Especially knowing yourself and your weaknesses, knowing yourself well enough to be like, I might go off at any time, that you're always susceptible to that in some form, and putting yourself in a spot where you have a safe backup plan because you put money into a retirement account or whatever it is, seems like prudent steps to take in order to be responsible. But I would say do it. I'd say give it a shot. And, really
in one basket, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, and really, really, really take every precaution you can to not gamble. And that means not surrounding yourself with anyone who does gamble. In fact, surrounding yourself with people that are like avidly against it and that are going to hold you to a high standard and pull you away from temptation. So if you have friends that are like, hey, let's go watch the sports game, like I wouldn't even fucking watch football. Like I don't watch football. Like I would literally hang out with other people that were like, fuck football. Because like you shouldn't be around football. And I would give my money, I would leave my money like locked in a fucking somewhere that was away from the casino and only bring exactly amount of money that I can afford to lose, being fiscally responsible to the casino, so that if I do go off at 1.3, I can't just go in and rebuy and jump up to 2.5 because I like damage controlled against that action before I went to the casino. So I would literally I would be aware that like I'm my own worst enemy and take every single precaution to mitigate against that. Like you have to do that.
Do you suggest incorporating a stop loss?
Absolutely. For you, absolutely, man. Like 2-3 buy-ins, 100%. Only bring that money to the casino that you can afford to lose, and that's it. Leave the rest.
Okay,
give it to a friend. Fucking have someone hold it. Like whatever it is, don't bring it. Leave it locked in a vault. Whatever it is, right? Keep it physically out of reach from yourself.
Sometimes it's just not your day. I went 8 out of 10 sessions, but the sessions that I lose like $1,000.
You lose 4x what you win.
Detriment.
Totally.
Right. Detrimental. Thankful.
So don't put yourself in a spot that will allow you to lose that money. Like literally don't bring it.
Another reason I'm going out there is the WSOP online. It's online poker is legal out there, and they have these really good satellites that I could potentially win a seat to the main event. I really want to play the main event again.
Yep.
It's a really soft field. It's my dream. And my friend plays online right now, and I kind of like Skype them and like watch them. And the players are so bad. And
it's fine if you risk a small amount of money, but otherwise, you got to practice proper bankroll management. Your bankroll's 10K. You can't be playing 1K satellites to play the main. I would allocate a certain amount of money for main event bankroll and only risk that money. So you say my bankroll's 10K, I'm going to take 300 of it, 500 of it max and try and play the main. And if I lose that, that's it. I'm done. No main event this year. And that's how you have to operate. Like you have to premeditated go into every single decision you make with a game plan. Like before you go to the poker table on, Wednesday, March 30th, you should say, this is my bankroll. This is how much I can afford to lose. This is what game I'm going to play. Fucking write it down, sign it, give it to a friend. If you don't follow these rules, you're going to give $100 away or volunteer, do whatever the fuck. Like you need to have stuff in place that just helps manage your own situation. Because all these things are fine in a vacuum. Like it's fine to take a shot, play the main event. It's fine to take a shot in a cash game. It's fine to occasionally watch football. But like when you add it all up and then you fall into temptation, that's when shit happens. So I would literally have systems in place for all these things to make sure that you're not overextending yourself. And that would be my best advice. And pay yourself back first.
Like $100. I would deposit like $100 online and try to, grind it up. I'm not gonna put like
totally
$500 on there. It's just all these satellites, like $30 satellites. There's just plenty of opportunities.
Just make sure that before you invest or gamble with your first dollar, you know exactly what your game plan is so that you follow that. Like, write it out when you're emotionless and you're in a rational state of mind and say, okay, my bankroll for the main event is $300. I'm going to play 10 $30 satellites. If I qualify, great. If not, great. And that's my game plan for 2018. That's it. And then it's back to the 1-3 game with the other 9,700, and that's like fiscally responsible bankroll management. You have to do that every single time you play. That should just be mandatory work. As annoying, tedious, boring, monotonous, trivial as it seems, that should be absolutely required work for you before every session. Like, I would be very confident giving you that advice.
And that's a long shot goal. I mean, that's a $10,000 buy.
Totally.
Obviously, a lot.
It's fine.
You're right. In order to do that.
It's fine to take long shots. Do high risk with a small amount of your bankroll, low risk with the majority of your bankroll, just like a stock portfolio, just like your life. You don't invest all your money into a high risk activity. You invest small amounts of money into high risk things. Low risk things, you invest more money because it's stable. That's what you do. So that's what I would invest. That's what I would recommend for poker. That's what I do. That's I think smart, but you have to have that plan ahead of time. So you'll be fine. Good luck. I hope you crush it. I think this is good. I think we should leave it there. If you implement this stuff, I'm confident you're going to be good. Manage yourself, man. Surround yourself with people that are bringing you up, and that's like the biggest thing, especially in Vegas.
I've been journalizing all my stuff. I think writing down your mood, your sessions, how long you play. I've been tracking all my sessions this year. I think that's really important. Game selection is super important.
Super.
It's a dead game. Get the fuck up.
Totally.
Of other games.
Check your ego, man. I agree. Fuck it. I'd rather play smaller in a better game than bigger in a worse game. Like, why? Totally.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of poker players have a super big ego.
Totally.
And
it's a big problem.
Really cocky. It is.
Everybody thinks they're better than they are, so that leads people to make poor decisions when it comes to game selection. But I think that stuff you have down. I think it's when you get emotional and things aren't going right that you chase that loss and you want that immediate gratification, and that leads you to make poor decisions. So mitigate against that risk at all costs. Damage control and put systems in place that force you to be successful in those situations. And pay yourself back first, man. Just know that you're taking a big risk. Know that consciously you're deciding, okay, I'm going to take this 10K risk, and it's 6 months of grinding a 9 to 5 if I lose, if I'm wrong, if it goes bad, if I get unlucky, if fucking I punt it off in a football game, whatever it is. Just know that that's your path, and that dog chasing your ass hopefully should inspire you to make good decisions. Because that's the game.
Yep.
6 months, grinding a 95 that you probably aren't too inspired about is a lot of trade-off for the high of betting on the fucking, the Rams.
Yeah.
So keep your head up, man. DM me in a couple months. Let me know how you're doing.
I will.
All right, man.
I appreciate it, Alec.
You got it. Thanks for your time, Curtis. Take it easy, bud.
You too.
Later. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave me your thoughts in a comment down below. Give some advice to my man, Curtis. Let him know what's up. If you guys have any suggestions, I know he would love to hear. I would love to hear as well. And let me know your thoughts on this video. Share it with someone if you loved it. Thank you for your time today. I'll see you guys next time on Ask Alec. If you have questions, hit me up on social media or consciouspoker.com/contact. You can ask me your questions, and I will answer them here on this show. Take it easy, guys. See ya.